Hello, good day. This is Phonology and Phonetics class. We're on chapter 3 of our handout, and the topic is the identification of consonants. Of course, phonology is the study of sounds, and we are dealing with the detailed study of sounds. Now, we've talked about phonology. We are now focusing on phonetics. In the aspect of phonetics, the sounds are divided into two aspects. We have consonants and we have vowels. So today's class is focused basically on consonants. I'm sure you'll be asking, what are consonants? Consonants are sounds produced with little or no air involved with through your airstream. Of course, air is stored in the lungs, and during production of sounds, humans need air in order to produce sounds, because all of the sounds you produce are made up of air. They contain air, and if you produce a sound and there is no air, it means that your mouth wasn't opened at all, and you will hear something else, not a sound. Okay, probably a hum. For instance, I say that is a hum. But if I'm to produce a sound in the form of a consonant or vowel, I am going to need air to come out of my mouth. Now, the sounds that are produced with little or just very slight air are called consonant sounds. And in the English IPA, we have 24 of those sounds. And these 24 sounds are divided into various aspects according to their places of articulation and their manner of articulation. Now, when we talk about places of articulation and manner of articulation, we are talking about the body parts that involve that these sounds revolve around. In other words, we know for a fact that English sounds are made up of allophones. Allophones are basically sounds that, or let's say an allophone is a particular sound that can have various sounds in it. For instance, your letter A is sounded as A, but when we put it in the letter form, we have the diphthong A. Okay, and we also have, for the consonant aspect of it, we have letters TH that has two various aspects of a sound. It has the voice aspect and the voiceless aspect, which is the and the. So these are various aspects of allophones we're talking about. So if we don't study these sounds in details and know the particular parts that we're supposed to use during production, we might end up producing a different sound, a different allophone, thereby giving us a different word. Okay, and sometimes we know in the study of phonology, in the course of the study, we've been told first and second week that when you pronounce the word wrongly, you just might be sounding the word according to another sound produced by another language or produced in another language. Okay, for instance, the German, they say, what is your name? And if you say instead of A, you say E, you're producing something else. You're saying the same word, but differently from another language. All right. So it's also inclusive in consonants. So you have to be careful. The knowledge of these body parts that evolves around sound production is very important. So we are talking about the body parts before we go into consonants proper. The body parts that sounds are revolved around are called places of articulation, which means the places where sound production takes place. All right, so the first aspect we have is where the air is stored, which is the lungs. Okay, the lungs, air passes through the mouth or the nose, and when we take in air, it goes down straight to the lungs. Now, the lungs distribute this air according to use. And for sound production, of course, this air passes through what we call the trachea. The trachea can also be called the windpipe. Okay? And the windpipe, of course, as it moves, it goes straight to your neck part. The neck part, we have the larynx, the pharynx, the epiglottis, the glottis, and also we have what we call the voice box, which is your vocal fold, or you can call it the vocal cord. All right. There's this particular part in the body part, your throat part, where they call the Adam's apple around here. Now, this part, there is this little pipe here that we call the trachea. When the air passes through, it gets to your vocal cord. Now, within the vocal cord is a very soft part. It's very soft. When you touch here, very close to what we call the Adam's apple, we will see a tiny hole that has two V parts. Now, in between is where we call, in between it, those parts are protecting the voice box, okay? That is your vocal fold. But the parts that protect it, around it, we have the epiglottis and we have the glottis. All right, the glottis helps to protect the voice box. Now, if anything has to happen to the voice box, it has to pass through the glottis first. So that is why it's very important that you be careful what you do and what you take into your body system. For instance, you taking too much of hot water can affect your voice box, and that's what affects you when you talk. All right, that's what it alters your mode of pronunciation as well. All right, so you have to be careful with what you do with the voice box. All right, then we have the oral cavity. The oral cavity is a total of what we have in our mouth. Up here, this is what we call the hard palate. Here. Now, if you go backwards to the roof of your mouth, you will have a softer part. That part is called the soft palate. Here. Then, this is called dental. This is called labial. Sorry, it's called labial. That's the lips. It's called labial. Now, one part of the lip, the upper lip, is called labial. The down is still called labial. The both are called labial. This is called labial. This is called labial. Then the teeth is called dental. Then we have the tongue. All right. We have three parts in the tongue that are very useful. We have the tip of a tongue, the middle tongue, and the back tongue. The back tongue is somewhat close to the glottis, so it makes a sound called the glottal sound. Is that okay? It makes the glottal sound. Then we have our nostrils, where we have the nasal sound. That's where the nasal sound is produced from the nose. Okay, we call that the nasal cavity. Having said that, don't forget the parts that I mentioned. I mentioned the larynx, the pharynx, the epiglottis, the glottis, the lungs, the trachea, which can also be called the windpipe. Then the nostrils, where we have the nasal sounds, we call it the nasal cavity. Then the oral cavity, which comprises of your labial, hard palate, your soft palate, the tongue, the tip of a tongue, which is the front tongue, the middle and the back tongue, where we have our glottal sound. All right. Now, also don't forget the auditory aspects of learning the consonant sounds, which means that you listen to sounds that are produced through conversations by people. That way you're able to identify which sound is being produced, how it is being produced. Is it correct? The pronunciation, is it correct? The sounding of that particular consonant, is it correct or not? It is very important to take note of those. All right, having said that, let's get to the aspect where we focus on the place of articulation and the manner of articulation. It is very important in consonants, in the learning of consonant sounds identification. like I said earlier, we have 24 consonants. 24 consonants. And this has nothing to do with your English alphabet. They are the IPAs. Okay? That's the International Phonetic Alphabets. And they contain 24. Now, these 24, we do not have particular types. We categorize them according to their places of articulation and their manner of articulation. Okay, so we can identify, we can say, okay, this and this belongs to this sound. Identify them according to their place and manner of articulation. Now, having said that, we have, in the place of articulation, we have 8 places of articulation. 8 places of what? Articulation. Number 1 is the alveolar. Alveolar. That's A-V-E-O-L-A-R. The alveolar sound. Alright? Then the alveolar, I can show you, is this part, the center part of your teeth, but the back of it. In Yoruba, it's usually called AG, but in English, we call it alveolar. All right, and of course, the center part is called the alveolar ridge. It's a ridge. Some people have it open, some people don't. And of course, it determines the type of sound that is produced and how we produce it. So, in the process of us trying to produce these sounds, it's very important that you follow it. If you have an open teeth, it can be a bit complex when you tend to produce some sounds that are alveolar in nature. Then we have dental. The second sound is called dental. That's the second place of articulation, is called dental. Of course, I told you earlier that the dental is the teeth, right? The upper and the lower teeth. Then we have the bilabial. Bilabial is talking about sounds produced with both lips, when the both lips are joined together. All right? So let's take from the alveolar. The alveolar, we have sounds like t, t, t. When you produce it, the tip of your tongue goes to the back of your alveolar ridge. It goes t. All right? The tongue goes to the tip at the back of your alveolar ridge. And it goes for d as well. D, d, d. Then we have z, 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 z. When producing the z sound, the tip of the tongue goes slightly, okay, to the alveolar ridge. Then it moves backwards a bit. So we have it in also s, 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 s. Then we have n, 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 n. You can sound it as n or n or n. We're talking about sounding it in allophones, using allophones to sound it according to how it is being used. All right, the use is very important. So if you can identify it as an allophonic sound, it is easy for you to progress in whatever you're doing with any word that has to do with the sound. Then we have l, l. This one is very obvious. Okay, it's the latter. The alveolar is very obvious because the tip of the tongue goes straight up l, to the alveolar ridge. L. Then we have r, r. Some people say it's r. No, it's r, r, r. It vibrates, sort of. All right. Some people sound it as r. That's the Americans go r, r. But the British sound it r. Is that okay? Is that okay? Then we have the dental. We just have 2 in the dental part. We have th, th. That's the TH I was talking about. In the, which is a voice aspect of it. Then we have the bilabial. That's number 3, which is bilabial. P. The use of the both lips, the 2 lips. P. Then we have b, b. And we have another aspect of it. Some people will say Then we have labiodental, which is, we're talking about labio, the upper teeth, the upper lips, or the lower lip, okay? The lower lip and the upper teeth. Yes, the lower lip and the upper teeth. It goes, yeah, the lower lip and the upper teeth. Is that okay? Then we have V, also V, which is the labiodental sound, and V. Then we have the post-alveolar sound, which is sh and ch. Now, it might look like the dental is working together with it. No, it's not. The dental is not together. Shh, no. The dental moves a bit, slightly, alright? But the tip of the tongue goes up. Shh, shh, slightly up. It's not touching anything. It is not touching anything, alright? Then we have j and j. Those are the post-alveolar sounds. Sh, ch, j, and j, j, and j. Then we have the palatal sound, which is just one sound. Is y, y, ya, y, ye, ye, ya, e. Is also an allophone. Okay. Sometimes you can sound it as EU because it is a sound that is found in between words. For instance, few, Q. All right. So you don't see the word, you cannot identify it with a letter, but it is there. You can hear the sound. So we talk about what you hear is very important, the auditory aspect of learning phonetics. So we have few. You have the word, the sound in the word. They're mainly like that. All right. Then we have the glottal sound, the place of articulation, which is how. Then the last one is velar, the velar sound. We have it g, ng, g, ng. Okay, so these are the places of articulation. I'll take them again. The alveolar, dental, bilabial, labiodental, post-alveolar, and palatal, glottal, and velar. Let me take it again. Alveolar, dental, bilabial, labiodental, post-alveolar, palatal, glottal, and velar. You can check this online as a subsequent reference to what I'm saying. Then we also have the manner of articulation. The manner of articulation has to do with how these sounds are sounded, how they are produced. When articulated, how is it heard? The manner, how do we articulate it and how is it heard? Now, the first aspect is how it is articulated. Now, the manner of articulation has to do with after the production, after using the places of articulation to produce it, how does it come out? So, number one, we of course, before then, we have 6 manners of articulation. The 6 manners of articulation are plosive, fricatives, affricates, nasal, lateral, and approximant. Let me take it again. We have plosive, fricatives, affricates, nasal, or nasal, it's called nasal, lateral, and approximant. I'll take it for the last time. Plosive, fricatives, plosive, fricatives, affricates, nasal, lateral, and approximants. All right. Having said that, I'm going to compare the manner of articulation and the place of articulation. All right. So once we get the place of articulation and the manner of articulation, it gives us a particular segment, a particular type, okay, or categories of types of consonants. Is that okay? I need you to follow up so that you can get the 24 consonants in the English IPA. All right, so for the first manner of articulation, we have the plosive sound. Now, the plosive sound, we have what we call the plosive alveolar sound, or we can call it rather the alveolar plosive sound. Alveolar means the place of the articulation, and the plosive means the manner in which the articulation takes place. So we have the first alveolar plosive sound, and that is t, d. So those are the two alveolar plosive sounds we have. Before I move further, let me include this, that we have the consonant sounds divided into two aspects, which are the voiced and the voiceless sounds. In subsequent classes, we will divide them into two. But today we're taking the place and manner of articulation in order to identify the 24 consonants that we have. So I said that we have alveolar plosive. That's number one. All right. We have t as a voiceless sound and d as a voiced sound. Then we have bilabial plosive sound. Bilabial plosive sound, which are p as a voiceless and b as the voiced sound. We also have the velar plosive sound. The velar plosive sound, which are as in can, as in keg, as in kettle. Then we have g, as in get, go, grew, grow, and ground. Then we let me take examples of the alveolar plosive sound. We have t as take, ten, tame. Then we have the d sound, which is dog, doze, does, and so on. Then we have the bilabial plosive, which is put, peg, place. We have b, bring, but, bought. All right. Then we have the alveolar fricative sounds, which are z as in zip, zap. We have it as says, does. You have the z sound in does. That's D-O-E-S. Then we have s, say, cease, same, save, and so on. We have the dental fricative. That's the TH. Dental fricative, the TH. We have th as in voiceless and the as voiced. We have the labiodental fricative, f as in fan, fetch, for, and we have the v sound as in of, over, vein. Yes. Then we have the post-alveolar fricative sounds, which are sh as in shift, that's S-H-I-F-T. We have it as ship and sheep. Then we have the ch sound as in CH, words that have CH, church, chaplain, change. Okay. Then we have the glottal fricative sound as in hope, whole, W-H-O-L-E, whole. All right. Then we have affricates. We can say we have what we call the post-alveolar affricate sounds. I think that's one of the aspects we have. The first one is the voice sound, J, J, J. It goes with letter J or letters G-E. All right, like generator, generator, generation. All right, general. Then we have in J, jack, jug, jog, Jude, James. That's the sound it goes with. Then we have the Z sound, still on the post-alveolar. It's still a voiced sound. It goes with words that have S, okay, but the sound production goes, the articulation process goes Z, like leisure, treasure, all right, casual, usual, and so on and so forth. Then we have the velar affricate sound, which is ng. No, it can't be a velar affricate sound. No, let's go into the alveolar nasal sound. Alveolar nasal sound is n or n, n or n. It goes with letter N. It goes with the allophone KN. It goes with PN in pneumonia. All right. So let's take some examples. We have next. We have knowledge. We have knife. And we have pneumonia. Then bilabial nasal sound. We have like manage, manage, man, mandate, manicure. And also we have the velar nasal sound, which is ng. It goes with ng, ng words. Like in, for instance, we have king. It goes with nk words. Think, ink, okay, pink, ring. All right. Then we have the lateral, alveolar lateral sound, which is l. It goes with late, lame, let, and so on. Then we have the palatal approximant sounds. Palatal approximant sound, which is yeah, ye, ew. All right, we have it in. It goes with letter Y. We have yes. We have yet. We have Yamaha. You can have it as yacht. That's a Y-A-C-H-T, yacht. Then we have it in between words. I've said it before. We also have the alveolar approximant sound, which is r, r, right, right, rim, real, and so on and so forth. Then we have the last one, which is the velar approximant sounds. Like with, when, wait, and so on and so forth. Now, if we gather all of them together, they make up 24 sounds. 24 sounds. I hope you've taken note of the place and manner of articulation so that you can get the different types of the consonant sounds. Like I said earlier, that we do not have particular types. We only have them in two categories. That's the voiced and the voiceless parts. But if we want to name them according to the types, we can use the place and places and manners of articulation to identify them. That way it will be easier for us to be able to pronounce words and sound these sounds, or produce these sounds, or articulate these sounds properly in their proper English form. I hope that this lesson will help us enhance our sound production, all right, and help our knowledge of what consonant sounds are about. In subsequent classes, if you have questions, you can send. I will be very glad to oblige. Thank you so much. See you in next class.